Good to go.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Chair Jones is absent. I will be presiding in his stead. I wish to call this regular meeting of North Wasco County School District 21 regular school board meeting into session. The next thing on the agenda is a review or revisions of the agenda. Are there any additions to the proposed agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to the district mission, vision, and value statement. Dana, would you read those for us, please?
Yes, I will. Mission statement: educating each student to the highest standards while motivating them to reach their fullest potential and graduating them to be college, career, and life ready. Our vision statement: our schools are a place where children belong. Each student is known by name, strength, and need, and provided the education and opportunities to achieve success. Our values: striving for equity, inclusion, and belonging, celebrating diversity, engaging the community, supporting the whole child, promoting and achieving academic excellence.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of routine items such as previous board minutes, routine personnel actions, and routine financial transactions. And normally there's little or no discussion on these items. In your packet, we have quite a few. We've been busy. There's a school board meeting minutes from April the 25th. There was a regular meeting. There was a May 14th budget committee meeting and a May 16th board work session. You'll also find in the consent agenda a personnel report.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Director Nelson. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. That's unanimous.
Dr. Judy,
Yes.
can I say one thing on the consent agenda on the personnel notes? There was a retirement for 2004, not 2028. I just want to make a note of that.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the board action calendar. This is a review. You see the board action calendar in the agenda packet. In May, we have had budget committee. In June, hopefully we'll adopt the district budget. There was proposed a board retreat that's still to be determined. Review policies as needed. And then there are opportunities for school board members to attend the high school graduation at TDHS and IA, and end of year activities and celebrations. Any questions about the proposed board calendar? Okay, well, yes.
Sent any information on the IA graduation and opportunity to attend that?
Dr. Bernal?
Yes, we will make sure that we get that information out to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This brings us to student and staff recognition and a recognition of the North Wasco retirees. I think we have a slide.
So thank you so much, Vice Chair Richardson. We want to take a moment tonight to honor our retirees and thank them for their service to the North Wasco County School District. We have some retirees that include Lowry Browning from the Dalles High School, Tom Conklin from Colonel Wright, Claire Cummings in operations, Facundo Fernandez in operations, Cindy Gardapi from transportation, Deborah Newkirk from the Dalles High School, Kirky Stutzman from Chenoweth Elementary School, Dwight Trainer from the Dalles High School, and Dan Diaz from the Dalles High School. I just want to personally thank each of them for their service to our district and to our students and families, and say, don't be a stranger. If you want to come back and still work and sub for us, please. We welcome you back anytime, and or if they want to volunteer with us, but we wish them all the best in their retirement. And again, thank them for their service.
Thank you very much. Our student representatives are very busy. They're not with us this evening. That's Where we're at in the agenda is student representatives to the board report, Yamari and Caleb. This brings us to the student representative reports from the buildings. The first one on our list is the Dells High School, Riley Elliott. You can let Riley in if Riley's here.
You should be allowed to talk there, Riley. Are you there?
If you're talking, Riley, you need to unmute. Give Riley a hand.
Do we want to maybe move to the next speaker and come back to Riley?
We can do that. The next is from Innovations Academy. We have Landon, Eleanor, and Riley Stocks. I see them joining. Hopefully they can unmute.
Hello?
Hi, Eleanor. Thank you.
Am I good to start?
Go for it.
Okay. I had a good year this year. I really enjoyed PE this year. Having a small school has really helped with relationships because I feel like I have the opportunity to talk with everyone in one day. I feel like when we get those chances to build those relationships and do hands-on activities. We had our first middle school and high school dances back to back, and they were bodacious and a groovy success. We look forward to doing more next school year. We've also been very active in fundraising for our school, including Burgerville and Mod Pizza fundraiser and after-school snack sales. You could say we're stacking up the cheddar and bringing home bacon. We had our senior field trip today to Bullwinkle's. It was a great way to say goodbye to our seniors. We are planning on taking a middle school field trip to Topgolf during the last week of school. Next year, we're hoping to have even more field trips throughout the year, but entertaining and educational. Innovations will have a rematch of the infamous staff versus student kickball game on our last day of school, June 6th. At our end of the year celebration, last time the students took victory, but this time the Innovations virtual teachers will be joining the game. Who will come out on top? Innovations Academy High School graduation will be this Friday, May 31st, starting at 6 p.m. We are proud to be graduating 60 amazing seniors this school year.
Wow.
Our 8th grade promotion ceremony will be on June 6th, starting at 5 p.m., where we will have our class representative, Madeline Leducer, speaking. Altogether, Innovations has really grown this year with every individual student and as a community. We're really excited to return next year.
Thank you, Eleanor. I see Riley Stocks has also joined us. Riley, do you have anything additional from Innovations to share? Oh, and if not, maybe Riley Elliott, can you unmute now and talk about TDHS? Technology.
I don't know if Riley's going to talk, but it says that Riley Stocks, she says that she can't get in right now. She just texted me that, so I don't know if she'll be able to talk.
The next one on the list is the middle school, the Dallas Middle School. Nathan, you've joined us. Can you unmute and share your report?
Hopefully.
Excellent.
Hey everybody, my name is Nathan. I am the middle school ASB president, and I just want to give you guys a little report on what's going on. Recently at ASB, We have been very busy planning and having lots of fun events. Now that May is here, we're on the last stretch of school, which means that we are planning our best events yet. To start off, just last week, we had our second annual family carnival planned by ASB, Miss Briga, Mrs. Perez, Miss Erica, Mrs. Carter, and Mrs. Staley. So big thank you to them. We included free food and games for every family that attended. We had tacos, Domino's pizza, cotton candy, and popcorn. We also had lots of games. We had face paint, singing, dancing, and the band playing music. Overall, the event was amazing. We got very good feedback from it. We had at least 500 people attend and are definitely looking forward to this event in the future. And just a few weeks ago, we had our Teacher Appreciation Weeks. Students and some helping staff painted posters and gave cards to every teacher at TDMS. Posters were hung all over the school to show our support. We appreciate every teacher here. Speaking of teachers, our teacher shout out this month goes to the one and only Mr. Hewitt. Not only does he support his students, but he tries to understand them and help them with everything they need. He is an amazing teacher, and all 8th grade students admire him. Thank you, Mr. Hewitt. Coming up soon, we have another PEP assembly, our last assembly of the year. During 7th period at the assembly, we will be playing rock, paper, scissors, championships, limbo, and musical chairs. We will be announcing spring athletes, listening to the high school band perform, and also during the assembly, we will be announcing next year's ASB team and saying goodbye to our current ASB officers. A new era of ASB will begin yet again. With only a few weeks left of school, or in other words, only 17 full days, students are getting ready to finish the year strong, but including some fun, of course. On June 6th, our 8th graders will be taking a trip to Camp Mahoro for the day. The 6th graders just recently had a school field trip to Camp Tomahawk to study the outdoors. And lastly, 7th grade will be taking a field trip to the movie theater on June 6th. And lastly, I would like to acknowledge and give a shout out to our current ASB team. All my comrades in ASB have worked really hard to plan, fundraise, and execute events all of this year. So thank you to our Vice President, Olivia Anderson, our Secretary, Eliza Vaught, our Treasurer, Rosalind, and last but not least, thank you to Ms. Nemick and Ms. Daly for being our ASB advisors. Ms. Nemick has been our advisor for 5 years and will unfortunately be stepping down at the end of this year to spend more time with her family. We appreciate both of our advisors as advisors and thank you very much. Thank you for your time and have a great night and a wonderful summer.
Thanks, Nathan. I saw Riley Elliott. Riley, are you ready to give a report from the high school? Thank you.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Good. Okay, I'm so sorry. I was having some technical difficulties. All right, I'm Riley Elliott, and I'm so honored to get to present tonight as the Dallas High School's new school board representative for the 2024 to 2025 school year. And now for a brief recap of this past month. ASB hosted a blood drive on April 30th. The Red Cross collected a total of 30 units, which exceeded our goal. Shout out to Dr. Bernal, Miss Bowen, Mr. Lopez, and Mr. Vaught for supporting the drive. Our final Spirit Week led up to prom on April 29th through May 3rd. The theme for the week was Another Summer. Monday, the dress-up day was Sleepover Day, and there was a pillow fight during lunch. Tuesday, the dress-up day was 4th of July Day, and there was History Cahoots during lunch. Wednesday, the dress-up day was luau themed. Thursday, the dress-up day was Beach Day, and there was a dodgeball tournament during lunch. Friday was picnic day, and everyone wore pink. During lunch, they served barbecue on Amaton Field. Prom was May 4th, and the theme was A Night in Paris at the Discovery Center. It was extremely successful. Every year, the classes compete to earn the most spirit points and go on the end of the year spirit trip. This year, the freshmen won. And on Tuesday, they went to Clackamas Town Center in Wonderland. On May 1st, which is Decision Day, several seniors were recognized for their pursuits after high school. We have several seniors attending universities and community colleges. There are some seniors going into trade school, others are doing various gap year programs, and a few are going into the military, including one who got into West Point. There's a new news channel for TDHS called Hawk Talk. It's an amazing new production that the students are loving. You can check it out at TDHS Hawk Talk on YouTube. Registration for Summer SOAR, which is the summer school program, is now open. And now for some track updates. The varsity girls team took second place at districts, and the varsity boys team took fourth. The JV girls team took third at their districts, and the JV boys took fourth. There were 15 athletes who made it to the state meet last Friday and Saturday. They did an amazing job, and we're all so proud of them. All in all, their season was full of PRs, and the team did amazing. Last night, the softball team played against Scappoose for the playoffs. They sadly lost 2-0, which unfortunately ended their season. All in all, we're proud of the effort that they put in this season. The baseball team also had a league game last night against Philomath. They won 6-3 and are moving on and will be playing Friday against North Marion. We're so proud of the work that they put in this season, and we're excited to see where this season takes them. The golf teams both competed at districts. The girls had an incomplete team and couldn't get a team score, but they all shot some of their best rounds of the season. Caitlin Vassar made it to state, and she was the only golf team member that was able to compete at state. The boys golf team got 10th at districts. It was a rebuilding season for the boys, with 2 returning varsity players and 2 returning JV players and 5 first-time players. But we're so excited to see how they do in the future. Both girls and boys tennis sent athletes to districts. Both teams played doubles and placed 5th. The girls team had a very high turnout this year, and the boys team was on the younger side, but we're looking forward to the future of Riverhawk tennis. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and thank you for your continued support throughout the year. And thank you for bearing with me throughout these technical difficulties.
Riley, thank you for your perseverance. It was a great report. It was worth waiting. I think next on the list is Chenoweth Elementary School. Do they have a video, or are Paola and Camila with us?
Hola, soy Paola.
Hello, I'm Camila.
Este es nuestro último reporte de Chenoweth de este año.
This is our last report for Chenoweth this school year.
El tema de este mes es creatividad. Mira este increíble trabajo de los estudiantes de Chenoweth. Hemos estado celebrando a los estudiantes que usan su imaginación para hacer algo nuevo y resolver un nuevo problema.
This month's theme is creativity. Look at this amazing artwork from Chenoweth students. We've been celebrating students who use their imagination to create something new or to solve a problem.
Tuvimos la banda de jazz de la escuela secundaria The Dalles que vino a actuar para nosotros. También tenemos una competición de atletismo el 28 de mayo de 4 a 5:30 p.m. El desafío de monedas finaliza el 29 de mayo y el kinder está ganando hasta ahora. Recorrer cualquier grado que obtenga la mayor cantidad de monedas y su cubo podrá pintar la cara y la camisa de señor Rendell.
We have the Dallas High School Jazz Band come and perform for us.
We also have a track meet coming up May 28th, 4 to 5:30 p.m. The coin challenge ends May 29th. Kindergarten is winning so far. Reminder, whatever grade gets the most coins in their bucket gets to paint Mr. Randall's face and his shirt. Anoche de Kinder el 30 de mayo habrán muchos juegos y actividades divertidas. La caminata del último año de la escuela secundaria de Dallas será el 31 de mayo. There is kindergarten night on the 30th. There will be lots of games and fun activities happening. The Dallas High School Senior Walk is on May 31st. Deberías venir a Chenoweth el último día de clases. Nuestro personal y los directores competirán en una carrera visto disfraces inflables. Usan nosotros en la pista de Watonka a las 8:45 a.m. En otras deberías quedar con nosotros y ser voluntario a hallar con nosotros actividades de día de campo. You should come to Chenoweth on the last day of school. Our staff plus principals will be competing in a race wearing blow-up costumes. Join us at the Watonka track at 8:45 a.m. Then you should stay with us and volunteer and help with our field day activities. Nuestra chiste del día. ¿Por qué no están juntos? Porque ella come amigos. ¿Qué? Me dijo, te quiero, pero como amigos. Our joke of the day is, what do you call a can opener that doesn't work? What? A can't opener. Le presentamos al señor Randall el mismo premio que le dijo mi hermano mayor de TDHS. Dice, siempre hablo con el señor Randall durante el almuerzo. Es un tipo realmente arrugado, muy divertido y tiene un cabello fantástico. Está de acuerdo en que el señor Randall tiene un cabello fantástico. We present Mr. Randall with the same award Paolo's older brother gave him at TDHS. It says, I always talk to Mr. Randall at lunch. He is a really nice guy, really funny, and has great hair. Do you agree that Mr. Randall has great hair? Esto es todo de Chenoweth. That's all for Chenoweth. As we say every day at school, y como decimos todos los días en la escuela, together we are better. Juntos somos mejores.
Okay, that was Chenoweth Elementary. Up next, we have Dry Hollow Elementary School, Jackson Timmer and Lydia Leducer for a video.
Good evening, North Wasco County School District 21 administration and community members. Thank you for allowing us a minute of your time to report to you on all the wonderful, fun, creative, and interesting things that have occurred at Dry Hollow over the past month. It is once again Jackson's pleasure to be seated here next to me and giving the board report.
Why, thank you, Lydia, but you might have that a little backwards, kiddo. Let's get things rolling, okay?
Okay.
In early May, Mr. Kaiser's wonderful class, of whom I'm a member of course, presented the Word of the Month Assembly. This month's word is grit. Some of our class thought grit was small as particles of sand or stone, but Mr. Kaiser assured us that but the kind of grit we'd be talking about was courage, perseverance, and strength of character. The class gave examples of what grit is, and then we showed a short video on characters and cartoons that have a lot of grit. After the video, Mr. Ramsey, the best student in the world, even though his first name isn't Dean, and Mrs. Lloyd, the principal of the year, in our eyes, handed out the awards to students who demonstrated our last month's word of compassion.
The poetry slam that Miss Corey held in the gym on April 30th was a huge success. Several students read their own original poems. The overall winner of the poetry slam was Tyler. For winning the slam, he got a brand new Tesla, a vacation to Europe, and a $1 gift certificate to Dairy Queen. Not really, but he did get a trophy and earned the title of the Dry Hollow Poet Laureate for 2024. Nice job, Tyler.
The walking school bus started out at a slow pace at the beginning of the school year, but in the last couple of weeks, we have had as many as 170 people on board. Oops, that's 17 people, not 170. My bad. Even Mrs. Lloyd, as well as Mrs. True, have been on board a few times.
The student council had a huge fundraiser selling pencils. They sold Smencils, very good smelling mechanical pencils, and regular pencils, with the undisclosed amount of money they earned, and with a promise from PTA to help out. They planned on using their funds to purchase a brand new Dry Hollow sign above the reader board at the driveway entrance to our school. I understand this fundraiser idea came from a very wonderful student council president. Ooh, that's me. Good job, student council. Thank you to everyone who supported our sales. A special thanks goes to Noah for always being there to sell the Smencils needed.
In preparation for getting ready for state testing, Mr. Mitchell used some grant money he earned from SIM to set up 8 science stations with activities that covered the wide spectrum of standards 5th graders are supposed to know. It was a lot of fun and a great way to learn science. Mr. Mitchell is our teacher of the year, without a doubt. Sorry, Mr. Kaiser.
The students at Dry Hollow reached their goal of collecting 1,500 Pride tickets last week. So this last Monday, Mr. Ramsey and Miss Lloyd stood outside the Dry Hollow gym while 2 students in each class got the honor of throwing a water balloon at them. It was fun to watch. We want to thank Mr. Ramsey and Miss Lloyd for being such good sports.
We're all looking forward to the Memorial Day holiday next week. There is 9 more days of school left after tomorrow, if I figured that correctly. Most of the classes will be going to the park or to the pool during the last week of school. The 5th graders will also be doing their engineering egg drop project and playing their kickball game against the staff. The 5th graders will probably keep their perfect record. They're 0-3 against the staff so far. Darn it.
This is our last report. It's been real and fun. It's been fun and sometimes it's been real fun. Jackson and I are looking forward to a wonderful summer. We hope you are as well. Until we see you again, have a terrific summer and thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you. That was Dry Hollow Elementary School. Last on the list for our student representative reports, Colonel Wright Elementary, Katie Harris. Let her in.
They're not here this evening.
Not here. Okay. Thank you. That brings us to agenda item number 11, staff reports, D21 Education Association representative. We're ready for your report. And it looks like they're all together, so that's also the Northwest Education Support Professionals representative.
Thank you. All right, can you guys hear us? Okay, fantastic. Good evening, Dr. Bernal, North Wasco County School Board of Directors, members of the audience that we have here, and via the Zoom world.
My name is Sylvia Brock. I am the co-president of the NWESP.
My name is Sonia Schatz. I'm also co-president of the NWSP, which represents the classified staff of our district, including Mosher Community School.
I am Jody Ketchum, president of D21EA, which represents licensed staff of our district, including Mosher, and we'll be giving our joint report this month. We also want to recognize a few retirees that accidentally got left off of the list. We have Brian Greeley from the Dallas High School and Carolyn McClure from CES. We want to thank all of our retirees. We want to thank our fellow union members and family members and community members for coming here to support each other. in our advocacy of continuing to better our schools, have safe schools for all, and to support our administrators, teachers, and our ESPs in solidarity.
We want to remind the board and everyone tonight that we negotiated this time in our contract to be able to inform you of what is happening with our staff. We are not speaking under public comments, but are allowed to speak our truth under PECBA, the Public Employees Collective Bargaining Act. It is disappointing that in the last few months we have been interrupted as we report to you the happiness, the fears, the concerns, or even sometimes our anger. We would appreciate it that even if you don't like what we say or don't agree with us, that you would give us the same respect we give you, listening respectfully without ever interrupting any of you.
First, we would like the board to know that as you mentioned in negotiations last night to two of the board members and the rest of the bargaining team, your budget proposal left our staff feeling unsupported and has greatly diminished their sense of value to the district. We are consistently asked to do more with less in education. While that is not an exclusive to our district, its impact is long-lasting. It has been said schools find a way to adapt. The reality is your proposal negatively impacts the staff who find themselves tasked with making those adaptations. Their wages, healthcare, wellness, and workload will all be negatively affected. I hope you can see why staff view this proposal as severely unfavorable.
Recently, both unions did a survey asking questions about the mental health of our members, their accounts of disrupted learning, and what ideas they had, short-term and long-term, for possible solutions. We also asked for their ideas of possible ways to help solve the financial crisis that the district is in. The following optional question was posed. Have you sought out any of the following supports related to your working conditions? There were 4 options available along with an other category, and you could mark more than one. Mental health support, therapy, counseling, 45.8% of our staff. Medication for stress, anxiety, depression, etc., 47.9%. Leave from work, short-term, long-term, or intermittent, 16.7%. Holistic care, massage, acupuncture, etc., 59%. Close to 60% of our staff who reported are feeling so unwell due to their working conditions that they needed some form of mental health support. I want the staff of D21EA and North Wasco ESP and all of the staff to know that we have read your 153 responses just to this statement. In all of the questions that we asked, there were over 1,000 responses. Please take some time to describe your stories and experiences related to disrupted learning environments, disruptive student behaviors this school year, their impact on the student learning environment, and the impact or toll on you. I will say that the gut-wrenching comments had tears streaming down my face and have left me feeling physically ill. We will share these survey results out to everyone very soon.
Now more than ever, it is the time to prioritize strong buildings, classroom supports, and staff wellness. We need more supports, not less. We need smaller class sizes, not larger. We want to again remind you all that we did not create this crisis, and it is so very unfair to ask all of your lower paid staff to work harder for less. We are not at an adapt level, we are at a breaking point. The budget you are proposing will break us one by one. It already is, and I cannot fathom it getting worse. You will see far more leaves next year and far more resignations.
We implore you to please make some changes at the upper admin level and other things that will not affect the students as heavily as less teachers, less ESPs, and no VPs or deans. We also would like to ask that you never be virtual again. If there are those board members or presenters who cannot be present, please Zoom them in, not the other way around. We thank you all for listening.
Thanks for your report. The next on the agenda is our school board subcommittee reports. The first one is Scholarship Committee. Director Wynn Elledge, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to let everybody know that on April 30th was scholarship night. I had the honor of being able to hand out some of the scholarships. And I want to acknowledge how the parents, teachers, and the community have helped recognize these amazing students.
Thank you, Director Winelage. Community Outreach Team Director Aparicio is not able to be with us this evening. The next is the Wellness Committee. I do not have a report this evening. That brings us to Equity Committee Director Winelage.
We didn't have a meeting this month. We've postponed it to early June.
Thank you. Wasco County Forest Collaborative Director Nelson. I can read your lips. It sounds like there's no report.
Yeah, there's no report for either one of my committee assignments. But I'll catch you all up with the next board meeting.
Thank you, Director Nelson. The final subcommittee report would be the OSBA Legislative Policy Committee, and we did not meet, so I do not have a report. This brings us to new business, presentations and reports from Superintendent Dr. Bernal.
Thank you. Actually, I will turn the time over to you, Vice Chair Richardson, to talk with the board about our process for appointing new student representatives to the board. I believe we were given 2 recommendations. I've read their application. Sounds like we have 2 outstanding candidates in the pipeline.
Thank you. Yes. As my fellow board members may recall, when we wrote the AR based on other districts who have student representatives to the board last year, our intention was to gather applicants through the help of the high school principals. And we have 2 applications now. The next part of that AR is to have an interview. It's not a high stress interview, but it's an opportunity for these applicants to practice interviewing and for us to answer any questions that they may have about board service. And then the next step is board approval. If those candidates feel they want to serve and they're a good match for the board. And then finally, the piece that I want to work better at this year is matching them with a mentor on the board who can be kind of a board buddy and help them navigate the agenda and the materials and understand how to be effective board members. So this next step, I'm asking if there are 1 or 2 of you who would be willing to sit and interview these 2 applicants with me and convene a subcommittee so that we can make a recommendation to the next board meeting.
I'd be willing.
Thank you, Director Nelson.
I'd be willing.
Thank you, Director Winelage. And I will join you too. Cindy, can you help us schedule a subcommittee meeting with these students and Dr. Bernal? And we will review their applications and chat with them about board service. Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Bernal.
Thank you so much. The next item under my reports is some revisions to both our 24-25 and 25-26 calendar. I met with the calendar committee several weeks ago to talk about some proposed changes. The changes are to move the start of school back by a week. If you look at the month of August, to have school start after Labor Day, and that is for both of our coming years of calendars, and to have school get out just 1 week later. And then we made adjustments to our trimester end dates. And the rationale really for these proposed changes is one, as you may know, we received a significant amount of summer funding. We were one of 100 districts that did qualify and receive funding to provide summer programming this summer. And we have some pretty robust summer programming lined up. We will be utilizing at least 3 of our campuses pretty much approximately a couple weeks after school gets out all the way through the middle of August. And so one, in order to give our facilities team adequate time to clean our facilities and have our schools ready for reopening, I want to be able to provide them that time because they are going to have to navigate and work around some summer programming and work the schedule to ensure all of our schools and facilities are ready for opening. And then secondly, in tonight's agenda, you're going to hear about our proposals for adoption of curriculum, one which includes our math curriculum, some DLI curriculum, and our ELP curriculum. which means also in August, we'll need to have some additional time to ensure we provide adequate training for our staff. And also, I want to be respectful of our site administrators' time and be able to provide them, in between all the trainings, also some uninterrupted, dedicated time at their sites to also feel like they are ready and prepared to open for school. So those are the rationale behind those recommended changes. And we would ask tonight that the board consider those recommendations and adopt the proposed revisions for both the 24-25 and 25-26 calendars.
Thank you, Dr. Bernal. Are there any questions for Dr. Bernal, or I will entertain a motion to adopt the revised?
I'll move to adopt the revised 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 school calendars as presented.
Thank you, Director Nelson. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Director Lopez. All in favor, please raise your hand. We have lost Director Vogt, but there are 4 of us still. All in favor of adopted the school calendar. Thank you.
Thank you.
This brings us to the Chief Financial Officer's report. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first item is actually an action item to at least declare the vacancies on the Budget Committee. And if there are any questions, I don't believe so, but it would need an action from the board to declare the vacancies, and we can seek some candidates.
I'll move to declare 2 positions on North Wasco County School District Budget Committee vacant, and to encourage qualified patrons of the district to apply for appointment to the committee.
Thank you, Director Nelson. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Director Wynne-Elledge. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Dr. Richardson, I apologize. Dr. Richardson, before you vote, I just want to remind everyone that one of those vacancies does need to be filled by a member of our equity committee, a community member from our equity committee. So
Dr. Bernal.
it's just FYI, that's per the updated legislation.
Okay, so there's been a motion and a second to declare 2 budget committee positions vacant. One will be a member of the equity committee. All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you, Director Vogt.
Thank you. The financials, not much comment on there. The next one I think will be more important as we wind up on encumbrances to the end of the year. My comments around that are next week. We're meeting in person with the auditors. That they didn't really come out much last week, so they're having an audit walkthrough, and they'll check internal controls and that sort of thing and lay out what the audit field work will look like. My other comments, the board approved in March to participate in the TAN pool, the tax anticipation note. The notes were sold on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm happy to report they were oversubscribed, and so the underwriter was able to reduce the interest rate a bit, and there will be a premium on the notes, so we'll get the same amount of money. I mean, it's not $5,000, but it's $5,000. We'll get the same amount of money, but part of it will be bond premium, which we don't have to repay. So it was a very successful issuance. And the other thing, Madam Chair, and I understand Jose is not there, but he wanted a part of my report to be updates on some of what's happening in some of the departments that I supervise. I didn't do a written report, but I haven't actually settled on a format that I want to use, but I'm happy to do it orally if that's okay. First being nutrition services. I think sometimes we maybe lose track of how many meals they serve in a year. And year to date, they have done 345,000 meals. And part of that is a direct result of our district and many districts qualifying for the community eligibility program where all of the meals are free. We're up about 25,000 meals from same period a year ago. And the note says that they fed 89% of the student population, which is really pretty darn good. The other thing that to report is that the community eligibility thresholds have been changed again, and we will continue to qualify. In fact, we will move up to where we would be reimbursed as at the free and reduced rate, which is a little higher per meal or per plate. We will receive free and reduced funding for 98.8% of the meals we serve. So a sign of the times, I don't know. They've changed the rules, but it's very positive for our food service program to if you can feed 89% of the kids, you're doing a pretty good in food service. The transportation department, as you are aware, we ordered 3 new school buses, arranged financing for those last month. 2 of them have been delivered. One's expected in mid-June. 2 of the buses are air conditioned, which is a little bit different for us. And the financing is in place, and they have, I suppose, checked them out. We've licensed them and insured them. So that's my understanding and honestly, I know by looking at our transportation report, our fleet is in much better shape than the vast majority of the schools, districts that struggle to purchase a new bus now and then. I think our average life is down in the 6 or 7s, which is quite an accomplishment. And finally, the facilities portion of my report. Sodexo, who does the facilities part, as part of their normal routine renewal process, our contract is not due yet, but they survey and make an investment in the districts that they're going to do. And they are prepared and have the paperwork ready to invest $500,000 in this district that does not need to be repaid. The only requirement is an extension of the contract for 5 more years beyond the normal expiration. And it is a godsend that money, the fire alarm system at Chenoweth Elementary will not pass the fire marshal's inspection again. So we've identified that, and there's a need to replace one of the chillers at the middle school. So they will make the funds available, and we can identify projects as we go. So with that information, I think I will likely bring a contract extension forward to the board the next month, and we can accomplish some of these things that we absolutely can't pull off out of our operating budget. The enrollment, you probably saw, is down 27 students. I think I didn't go back historically and look, but some students take an early view of when summer vacation starts. So I don't think it's unusual. It's not highly punitive in terms of funding, and the state already knows that. They have a January to June funding, and they've already made that correction. So I don't anticipate any fallout from that. I think that concludes what I had to report to the board, Madam Chair, unless there's some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Are there any questions for Mr. Anderson?
Only a comment that the air-conditioned buses will come in handy this summer for summer school.
Yeah, I think there might be a feeding frenzy to find out who gets to drive them, and that sort of thing, which is someone else's fight to fight. But it will be. They're 78 passenger buses, so as we have to go on long trips, it will be a godsend. But you can't retrofit them. There's no way we could retrofit the other buses. So, and I forgot to report too, part of part of what funds these new buses is a grant to decommission some of our older buses. And so 2 of them are going to be decommissioned. I mean, like they cut the frame and drill holes in the engine block. So they're just junk. I mean, they're just sheet metal. And we've reached out. I think we're going to try to donate one of the buses to the fire department. They can practice bus evacuations. They took one a number of years ago, but they don't have one anymore. So, and they're, honest to guys, they're valueless. An old school bus, by the time we drive it to Portland and sell it for scrap, we only make a few $100s on one. So, but the grant makes the down payment on the new buses. And so, and again, our fleet is in terrific shape.
Good to hear. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Anderson?
Randy, that 500,000 from Sodexo, that is specifically allocated to facilities improvements and upkeep?
I think the short answer is yes. That clearly is their focus. I think it's generally they do it ahead, as the renewal gets closer. And I said, how am I going to pay for a fire alarm system? And they stepped up and are willing to accelerate it. But I do think it's going to be with Ryan and I and whoever, I think it's going to be an ongoing report of here's what we're spending some of the money on. But short answer is it's designed to do capital assets. And I haven't been here. I don't know what kind of shape we're in with mowers, and they've done floor polishers and stair lifters and those sort of things. So I don't know. I don't have any idea, but I'm pretty sure we have a list that's longer than 500,000. So it's a blessing, honestly.
Thank you. Anything else for Mr. Anderson? If none, we'll move on to the board attorney's report. Mr. Corey, do you have anything for us?
I do. This is the time of year where we discuss renewing and extending a couple of lease arrangements that we have with Mid-Columbia Children's Council for their occupation of part of the Wetumpka building. And that, just as a reminder, is in essence the service fee that they pay covers janitorial service in the building, and maybe not even quite that, but that was the intent when we initiated the lease several years ago. It's a year-to-year lease. I'm recommending to the board that it authorize that additional extension to allow them to continue to occupy that portion of Wetumpka that they occupy. And then the other one is just the lease for the grazing lease for the property up in Columbia View Heights. We have for the last 2 or 3 years, I think, included a clause in the extension that allows the district to, because we've surplused a portion of the property in Columbia View Heights, if it is sold, then we adjust the boundary of then the agreement is that we adjust the boundary of that area leased, and the folks that are leasing the grazing land vacate that part that we would sell. And so both those leases run for a year to year. And if the board is amenable, I'll reach out to the individual parties and extend those both of those agreements.
Are you seeking action this evening on those?
That's been our practice. I'm just indicating that I will be notifying them that we'll continue to roll that over as we have done year to year. And I just need the board chair's signature on it, so I'll get copies of these to Cindy so that Dave can sign them.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to discussion and action items. 14A, the action item, math adoption, English language proficiency, and Spanish language arts. This is where Shannon Brennan can join us. Thank you. It looks like we have Shannon and Katie Garrett. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everyone, for having us. Katie and I are here tonight to represent the very many teachers that joined us on the different curricular leadership teams to come to consensus on these instructional material recommendations for math, for English language proficiency, and Spanish. So we'll start with math. And the quick answer is that we are recommending iReady Classroom Mathematics for elementary and middle school, and then Reveal from McGraw-Hill for high school, the Algebra Geometry and Algebra 2 track, along with pre-calculus. And the next couple of slides give in-depth overview of each of these programs. I know you had these materials ahead of time, so hopefully you had a chance to just read through them a little bit for iReady and Reveal as well. Katie's going to share a few testimonials that we had on slide 5.
All right, so we actually, part of our process was we surveyed the third graders through high school after they had experienced both versions of that we were piloting. And so we were able to pull some of these testimonials from those surveys. And then we also just had teachers give us some feedback too. So I want to read, in particular, I want to read one from Cassie Staley, who teaches 7th grade math at the Dalles Middle School. And she had these words to say. I hear
hang on 1 second. I'm sorry. This is slide 5, please. The next one. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, so Cassie had this to say. She said, I hear from students who don't normally share out loud in class. The start part of the program warm-up problems have been instrumental in getting students to talk. I use the discourse cards and appreciate the sentence frames and question stems built into the slideshow presentations. I love that this curriculum has ideas for specific structured student talk routines that I can build into my lessons. The connect to culture slides have also been a wonderful way to get students thinking about the background of a problem that will then be introduced. So I picked this quote in particular because this really aligns with what some of our other initiatives are with our TLA department, where we're really encouraging student discourse and getting students to talk and providing those language learners and all of our students with those sentence frames and question stems as well. So love that part. And then if you go to the next slide, I want to highlight a 6th grade student who just said that, this program, it helps you through the problems and it takes you step by step, which, for many students, that's what they need, is just step-by-step instruction, which is awesome. And then moving on to the next one, the next slide. From our high school, we had Kara Ton, who teaches our pre-calculus course. And her testimonial here is that the application problems are relevant and current and explore the significance of pre-calculus content. Who knew that there was significance in pre-calculus in the broader world? And then there's the Alex component, which is an online tool, and it helps students to control their own learning path and know what practice that they might need. And then the very last comment on this one is from a pre-calculus student too. Again, just highlighting that I liked how engaged and participatory my classmates and I are during the class. So again, getting kids to talk and getting them engaged in what they're doing is just amazing. So just wanted to highlight a few of those points.
The next slide gives you just an overview of the costs, and these are rough estimates at this point in time, simply because we had our final adoption team meeting last week, and the turnaround to get a quote from our reps was it's still just a broad generalization of the costs for for individual years. So we are going, the typical adoption cycle is 7 years. Because the math adoption and actually all of these adoptions were delayed, generally the publishers give you a reduced rate of the materials when you purchase them for 7 years. And since none of these adoptions are 7-year purchases, meaning that we won't be necessarily using the materials for 7 years because we'll come back through the adoption cycle prior to that. We, with iReady and the math materials, we are not eligible for that 7-year cost, and it doesn't make sense to purchase 7 years worth of materials. And actually, the cost of the materials is about the same for where we're at this point. So the discount is irrelevant. So my hopes are that the initial purchase for iReady is, and I'm sorry. So this would be for all of our math costs for this year is about $175,000. That for K-8, that includes teacher materials, some consumables that we're also pursuing. Something that is unique with iReady is they partner with another organization for for manipulatives, and so we will be making a purchase as well, so that people have manipulatives that support the program. And then our estimated costs for the high school math is about $40,000. We're looking at about $25,000 for professional development, and then annually ongoing costs around $85,000. If I am really off in this estimate, I will let you know. But this is based on quotes that we had from the publisher pricing list that ODE publishes. And regardless of when we purchase the materials, all of the publishers honor the prices that are listed in the price list with ODE for the adoption cycle. The next slide, please. So all K-5 and 6-12 math teachers will participate in training for new programs. And the training is ongoing throughout the life of the adoption in order to continue to learn, grow, and implement additional features of the programs. And so initially what we're intending to do is provide like very basic professional development that will allow teachers to get into the materials. And it's like on a little bit of a need to know right now to be able to implement at the beginning of the year. And as they get comfortable with the very basic components of Tier 1 instruction, we'll layer in additional features of the program to expand that and to provide additional opportunities for student learning. So moving into ELP materials, in collaboration with ODE and all of the ELD teachers that participated on our team for this material adoption recommendation, rather than opt for another curriculum that is separate from language arts, that is separate from what Title I reading specialists use, and that creates a little more chaos for teachers. We hear a lot about curricular chaos that teachers have when they're working to learn different instructional materials. Our students also experience that. And so what we were able to do was align the English language proficiency standards with the language arts standards and determine that, yes, in fact, our already previously adopted language arts materials for elementary and middle school will support the ELP standards. And so we are not looking to purchase any additional curriculum for designated ELD time. What that means is sometimes there is a designated time when English language development is being taught. And we are working through other initiatives from the TLA department and within our strategic plan to really ensure that language development is a part of our entire school day across every single content area. And it is not something that just happens during isolated learning times. And so by utilizing the language arts materials that we've already adopted, we're ensuring that connection across classrooms. And so our ELP, our English language development specialists will be working in collaboration with the TLA department and language arts teachers to access these previously adopted materials. We are looking to adopt a program called Get Ready for newcomers, and federal definitions identify newcomers as students who are new to a school in the United States and have never been in school in the United States and were born outside of the country. However, we have a lot of students who were maybe born in our country, but have not lived here. And so we still have a lot of students who are brand new to English instruction. And so we are looking to have some support for them. So that program flows K-12, and then our designated time at the high school, and this is for students who are still identified as English learners and still receiving services. We're looking to adopt a program called Perspectives. So the next slide gives us some information about Perspectives and the other programs. And then slide 13 goes into just identifies that the professional learning will be asynchronous with options to have virtual calls with representatives from all of the companies that we are looking to work with. And then moving into the recommendation for our DLI classrooms for Spanish language arts materials, we are looking to adopt Amplify Caminos, which is the Spanish language arts component of Amplify. And Amplify is the program that has been adopted at the middle school for language arts. Along with Caminos, we're looking to have Amplify Core Knowledge Language Arts, which would be utilized in the DLI classroom so that we're really building and developing dual languages. It's not just Spanish language arts. Katie, you want to take the testimonials?
Yeah, absolutely. So we, as you know, our DLI classrooms are kindergarten, first, second, and now third this year. And so we've got testimonials from all three teachers. And I just want to highlight the one from Jamie Ezequiel Ruiz. And she said, when I got to observe Maestra Susie, I love seeing how engaged students were with the reading book provided. And the book was not only culturally relevant, but also engaging to them. And the books made it easier for them to engage with their writing component. And again, just highlighting, you know, our district-wide initiatives to get students talking and writing about what they are reading about. And I just thought that was a great highlight there.
And I just want to apologize. The teacher testimonials didn't make it into the slideshow that was sent to you last week. They were added in a little late, so they were, sorry for the confusion that they weren't in your packet. The overview of costs, we're looking at an initial adoption cost of about $35,000. And this is for the Spanish language arts materials in K4, and then English language arts materials in grades 3-4. And then there are some estimated ongoing costs. And one thing to just be aware of and just keep in the back of our minds is that as the DLI program continues to expand, we will need to purchase more materials and also professional development along with that. So the professional learning that we are looking to have for our DLI teachers is a half-day on-site professional development for Caminos, and then a half-day on-site professional development for the CKLA counterpart, so that the dual language instruction can be effectively implemented in their classrooms. Do you have any questions for us?
Shannon, I've got a couple. Back to the math curriculum. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we are already kind of behind on this adoption. Is that right?
Yep. Earlier this year, the board approved the math adoption, the delay for the math adoption.
Right, I remember that. And so I'm just wondering how long before we're going to need to look at another adoption, which means another pretty significant outlay of costs. knowing that we're getting, a reduced rate because we're getting into it kind of late in the game, but how long before we have to look at this again?
So the typical adoption cycle for any content area is 7 years. And so we're looking at a 6-year adoption.
Okay, we're only 1 year behind right now.
Correct. And we are 2 years behind for the Spanish language arts adoption for DLI and 2 years behind for the ELP adoption.
Okay. With the Spanish language and the ELP, are we also getting kind of a reduced rate since we are behind on those as well?
Well, it's not so much a reduced rate. If we were purchasing on cycle for the 7 years, that's where we really get the reduced rate, because they incentivize districts to pay it all up front. And so we're not doing that. And at this point, we don't qualify for that reduced rate because we won't be adopting for 7 years.
Okay. And then with the math, you mentioned that there's kind of a, sorry, just scrolling through my slides here. Kind of a graduated rollout of knowledge that's needed to teach this curriculum. Does that mean that the initial teaching and the initial learning that's going to be happening is kind of subpar as it relates to the knowledge that's coming on later for the teachers?
No, I don't think so at all. What we need to have at the very beginning is a strong understanding of solid tier 1 instruction. And what I mean by that is the universal regular classroom instruction that is happening for all students. And once we know the basics of the program and know it well, then we can start to add in additional components. So you wouldn't be able to utilize, and this is my own opinion and thinking on my experience in my classroom even, as a teacher, you're not able to access those additional components of any program until you know the foundation really well. And so, I think of it a lot like the first year of teaching any program, you do the best that you can. And as you get to know it better, it feels a little smoother. And I wouldn't call it subpar. I would call it, we're laying the foundation for expanding our skills.
Okay, so the kids that are going to be learning this in year 1 compared to the kids in the same classroom that are learning in year 3 or 4, learning the same thing, but the teacher is feeling more comfortable with the material. The teacher has access to more tools and resources to use.
Yes, and some of those additional tools and resources can really distract from the core content. And when we focus on all of these extras, and not the core content, we're really not giving kids an opportunity to master the skills that they need to master.
Okay. And the professional learning that's going to be happening prior to rollout, you're confident that that's getting teachers exactly where they need to be able to teach this material day 1?
Yes, I am. And we are intending to build in some collaboration time into that training, and so that it's not just teachers receiving information for 8 hours and then expected to turn around and teach. It's, here's some information, let's process this, let's experience what it's like to be a learner. Let's think about then how we might apply this in our own classrooms, and we're looking to provide collaboration time in those training days.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question. So this is over, well, now it's a 6-year period. Where in this time frame that you know that it's not working, that maybe the students aren't understanding, or the teacher that's trying to teach it isn't getting it across? Is there some kind of like building out of, oh, we made the wrong choice, oh, maybe we shouldn't have gone this way? How do you compare that to what's going on now?
truthfully, we have a lot of room for improvement when we're looking at data.
Okay.
And the iReady program has an assessment component that is part of it. It's not in addition to. The iReady classroom math involves a diagnostic assessment. There's individualized lessons that are also a component of it. And so what we're able to do with this program is have a diagnostic assessment of where are students at right now. And so at the very beginning, all students will take the diagnostic assessment and actually the TLA department will roll out the assessment dates that will correlate. They will be consistent from what's been shared in the past for STAR reading, or I'm sorry, STAR math. And with that diagnostic, we can see really precisely where students are. It's an adaptive assessment. And so it will highlight their areas of strength and areas of unfinished learning. And then from there, going back to Director Vought's question about how do we add in additional components to it. Once we get the basics of our Tier 1 instruction, we'll be able to use the diagnostic assessment to identify that unfinished learning that students have. And there are then instructional tools that we can pull in during intervention times to provide direct instruction for filling in those holes so that students are still getting that grade level standards-based instruction during the core content instruction. But then the elementary schools all have a win block. So it's what I need where they provide interventions, whether that's reading, sometimes it's special education services, sometimes it is ELD services. And that is a wonderful opportunity that we already have that time built into schedules, that if we can norm how we're using that time across the district, students will then be able to also receive instruction on where their holes are in their learning.
Okay.
And so then the diagnostic assessment, we'll take it at the beginning of the year, and then it'll be on a trimester basis. And we should see that progress that students are making. And if they're not, that is just another source of data that we have for us as educators to look at our practices and say, okay, so if this is not working for a student, what can change so that we can better meet their needs? And that's what interventions are, whether they're in the classroom or they're outside of the classroom. It's let's make some changes, because we know the kids are not going to change.
Right.
We're not changing the kids. We as educators have to change our practices to meet their needs.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So this is kind of on the line of what Joel was asking. In terms of early support, first year, and then ongoing support from the companies that produce the math materials, what does that look like? Do teachers get, what is the interface between training for that and actual something happening within the classroom where they get further support?
Well,
or does that not happen? If there's a general training and then teachers are kind of on their own?
No, that's not the intent. That is not the intent at all.
Okay.
There's a general training, then actually I have asked iReady to provide like in their ideal world, what does an implementation plan look like? And they want ongoing contact points with teachers. And in terms of like short amounts of time to continually build upon their knowledge base of it. And so I'm optimistic that we'll be able to utilize some of our professional development and PLC time this year to really be able to identify what learners need. And learners, whether, students for sure, they're a priority, but we can't meet student needs if teacher needs for learning are not met. And so we'll be building some of that into that time as well. And so that we don't have to constantly find additional sources of funding for like full day trainings.
And then do those trainings go on as the years go by, especially if you discover some holes in the program or some difficulties that teachers are having with particular aspects? Does that training continue in the years further ahead?
Yep,
Oh.
it sure does. And so they offer iReady, and actually all of these programs offer like 1 year, just first implementation year trainings, but they also offer 3-year implementation plans and 5-year implementation plans. And so I'm waiting to see what comes back, but I'm hopeful we'll be able to continue it throughout the life of the adoption, because our learning as educators never stops either, just like our students.
Yeah. What sounds really good to me in this program is the fact that you are starting at that tier 1 level. You're where the kids are at and where the teachers are at the same time. And then you kind of go through that step by step, checking each step. And you're with the kids and you're with the teacher, and they're feeling supported, and you're getting some mastery of that material, which that's what we're not getting today. So I'm excited. I'm hopeful that this will do something for our.
Can I add one other thing too, Director Nelson, that the TLA department is comprised of Shannon and myself and my role as an instructional coach, and we're actually hiring, I think, another instructional coach. And so that's another layer to this too, is that as coaches, we're available for teachers who might have a need, or they just have a desire to grow in an area. Then they call on us, and then we go in and we're kind of a thought partner, and we work with them to improve that practice, whatever it is that their goal is around. And then we also have our curriculum leadership team, which is, we have a language arts one and a math one. And so that's a district-wide team of math leaders, and they can kind of serve as support as well within the buildings. So there's a couple other layers within our own district that can support that as well.
That sounds great.
And I'll add one more thing that Katie didn't say. We are hoping to also, from our math adoption team, create an implementation success team that some of the members of our math adoption team will work a little bit with us over the summer to really ensure that we have a very successful plan laid out for North Wasco County School District, and not just based on what these programs are suggesting that we should do, that we are creating our successful implementation plan for ourselves as well.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you for those explanations. They're great.
I believe Mosier uses iReady, and
yes.
Mike's doing great on it.
Yeah.
What was the feedback like from your adoption committee?
We had a lot of great feedback. Katie, you want to go back to the testimonials? You want to read Emily's?
Yes, let me find that. So Emily Stewart is a 3rd grade teacher at Dry Hollow, and she was on our team. And she said students are encouraged and supported as they discover math concepts in comfortable ways before bridging to new ways. They are able to share their different perspectives and strategies with their class and students, and are able to learn from each other and take the reins in explaining their thinking.
And one thing that I did not include in your packet was all of our documentation throughout our whole process. But I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share it. We went through a consensus making protocol in all of our teams, where we asked everybody for where they were for their level of support. One being, I strongly agree that this program is the right choice and will support it. Level 2 being, I accept this program and will support the implementation of it. Level 3, I can live with this program and will support the implementation of it. And level 4 being, I have concerns and cannot support this program at this time. one thing that was incredibly important to us as a math adoption team was that we did have consensus, and we were going to continue to talk about strengths and areas of concerns and whatnot until we reach consensus. And actually, the very first time that we went through the consensus making protocol, we had consensus that we did not have any 4s on our K-8 team, and meaning that levels 1, 2, and 3 stated that they can either strongly agree or can live with it, you know, within that range, that everybody would support this. And that was really important in terms of the success of the initial implementation, and also what they would be sharing with their colleagues. That was a huge value to me, that we would all support this positively and move forward with it, even if it wasn't like my very first preference. But everybody, the very first time we went around for our consensus making protocol, we had consensus to move forward with iReady. The other program that we piloted did not have consensus. We had many 4s. But since we had consensus with iReady, we didn't have to go any further with that conversation.
And I would echo that at the high school level, it was the same, that the program that was chosen was all, I think it was all 1s and 2s. I don't believe there were any 3s. So.
Thank you for this information. If there are other questions or discussion from the board, give those now. Otherwise, I'll walk through. There are 3 board actions requested, and we'll go through each one of them so that board members can make motions to approve and adopt. Any other questions or discussion for Shannon or Katie before I go? Thank you for this information, and thank you for the great questions. I learned a lot. The first one, you can find the language on page 36. This action is requested to approve and adopt the math curriculum and materials. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the recommendation to adopt the following math curriculum materials as presented: iReady Classroom Mathematics at the elementary and middle school level, and Reveal McGraw-Hill at the high school level.
Thank you, Director Nelson. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Director Vaught. All those in favor of approval and adoption of the math curriculum, please raise your hand. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes. Cindy, approval and adoption is unanimous for the math curriculum. Thank you. The next requested board action is to approve and adopt the ELP curriculum and materials. The language is on page 37 for your review. Entertain a motion to adopt and approve.
I motion to approve the recommendation to adopt the following ELP curriculum and materials as presented. Do I have to list them all?
I think they're there for our review. Thank you, Director Winella. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Director Nelson. All those in favor of approving the recommendation to adopt the ELP curriculum, please raise your hand to be counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All 5 members present have voted unanimously to approve the recommendation to adopt the ELP curriculum. Finally, on page 38 of your packet is a request to approve and adopt the DLI Spanish Language Arts curriculum and materials. I'll entertain a motion.
I motion to approve the recommendation to adopt the following DLI Spanish Language Arts curriculum and materials as presented.
Thank you, Director Lopez. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Nelson. All those in favor of approving the recommendation to adopt the DLI Spanish Language Arts curriculum, please raise your hand to be counted. 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 members agree, and a unanimous motion to adopt the recommendation to adopt the DLI Spanish Language Arts curriculum as presented. Thank you all.
Thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you.
This brings us to agenda item 15, the first reading on school board policies. These are for information only. Policy IGBAF, Special Education Individualized Education Program, IEP. The legal reference to IGBAF, Special Education Individualized Education Program, IEP, have been updated to the new laws, and there are no changes in the policy language. The next one is policy IGBAF-AR that goes along with that policy, Special Education Individualized Education Program, IEP. The changes to the AR include Special Education Individualized Education Program, IEP, are due to the passage of the Senate Bill 756 in 2023, which requires district employees who are assigned to work with students who are on an IEP or 504 plan be invited to attend the student's IEP meeting or 504 plan meeting. The section of the administrative regulation, the AR, was also updated to include information regarding abbreviated school days. The third one is policy IGBAG, Special Education Procedural Safeguards. Changes to this policy are due to the passage of Senate Bill 758 in 2023 to add language to the independent educational evaluation section stating parents are entitled to examine their students' record pertaining to identification, evaluation, and educational placement, and the provisions of a free appropriate public education and setting a 10 business day timeline. This brings us to second readings. These require adoption, action to adopt for school board policies. The first one, we've seen all of these before. These are second readings. The first one is JHFE-GBNAB, Suspected Abuse of a Child Reporting Requirements. The Oregon Department of Human Services, DHS, reports the purpose of Senate Bill 231 in 2023 was to align state law with the agency's current process for receiving child abuse reporting through a centralized child abuse reporting system established by DHS. Reports must still be submitted to DHS as directed or to law enforcement agency. You have the full language of the policy in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
A motion to adopt policy GBNAB/JHFE as presented.
Thank you, Director Vogt. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Nelson. All board members in favor of the adoption of this policy, please raise your hand to be counted. All 5 board members are in agreement. The policy is adopted. The next policy for adoption is policy EBBB, Injury or Illness Report. The State Board of Education adopted revisions to Oregon Administrative Rule 581-022-2220 on health services. As a result of these changes, there's a list of policies and administrative regulations which have been revised. You have the full language of the policy in your packet. Any discussion, or I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
I'll move to adopt policy EBBB, Injury or Illness Report.
Thank you, Director Nelson. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Director Lopez. All those in favor of adopting policy EBBB, Injury or Illness Report, please raise your hand to be counted. All 5 members present are in agreement for the adoption of policy EBBB, Injury or Illness Report as presented. Thank you. The next one is policy GBN-JBA, Sexual Harassment. House Bill 2280 in the 2023 legislative session modified the definition of sexual harassment affecting schools and has since been followed up with new rule revisions. The revised definition changes the meaning of assault within the sexual harassment context and adds a section describing the meaning of without consent, which is also a new definition added to the law. The full language of the policy is in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt policy GBN/JBA, Sexual Harassment.
Thank you, Director Vogt. Is there a second?
I second.
Either way.
Thank you, Director Nelson. All those in favor of adoption of policy GBN-JBA, please raise your hand to be counted. 1, 2, 3, 4. All board members present are in favor of adopting policy GBN-JBA, sexual harassment. Thank you. And the last one is policy GCDA-GDDA, criminal records checks and fingerprinting. Newly revised rules regarding fingerprint collection offer the addition of a statewide vendor identified by DAS as an authorized fingerprint collector and remove the option for volunteers to appeal to ODE on a fitness determination issued by ODE. The other resulting changes come from a decision to have a standalone board policy. The full language of the policy is in your packet. I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
I move to adopt policy GCDA/GDDA, criminal records check and fingerprinting.
Thank you, Director Lopez. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Nelson. All those board members in favor of adoption of policy GCDA-GDDA, please raise your hand to be counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I count 5 board members present, unanimously adopting policy GCDA-GDDA, criminal records checks and fingerprinting. Thank you, everyone. The next policy in the packet is for information only. It's policy JECBA-AR, number 1, procedures for admission of exchange students. The update to this AR is an internal request from the Dalles High School to include 2 additional approved sponsoring organizations to participate in the North Wasco County School District Student Exchange Program. It's for information only. This brings us to comments from the audience about agenda and non-agenda items. Public comments. The board will accept public comments for the May 23rd, 2024 meeting. The board is committed to the public comment process and will consider all public comment seriously. Public comments for virtual meetings will continue to follow school board policy BDDH, public participation in board meetings. Please note anyone wishing to speak during the public comment section of the agenda shall follow board policy BDDH-public participation in board meetings, which states a person speaking during the designated portion of the agenda for public comment may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs. The board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. The board chair will direct the visitor to the procedures in board policy KL complaints for consideration of a legitimate complaint involving a staff member. A commendation involving a staff member should be sent to the superintendent, who will forward it to the employee, the supervisor, and to the board. Do we have public comment? Cindy?
Yeah, there was one. Robin, can you let him in?
I don't seem to have Mitch in my list of people waiting.
Wesley Mitchell or Mitchell Grayphone?
No, I'm sorry. I don't have Wesley Mitchell.
Has anyone else signed up for public comment for this evening?
No. Can you give me a second? Let me just double check my email. Make sure there's not an issue. I'm not seeing anything.
Okay. Well, with that, thank you everyone for your time this evening, and we'll adjourn the regular school board meeting.